so the next page is the week 3 new chords. We'll come back to the major chord family and friends and start to relate that to other keys and figuring out how we can use capos and transpose songs with that information. So we're on week 3 new chords, and we're going to actually play the rest of the chords in the key of G that we haven't learned yet in regard to F sharp diminished, and we're going to play a few off chords. We're going to play a G augmented, and then we'll play a G with a C, which is basically a G with a C chord inside that G chord. So starting with G augmented, we're going to actually play our 3rd and 4th finger like we usually do on the G, and our 2nd finger also on that 5th string 2nd fret like we usually do. Then we're going to add our 1st finger on the 1st fret 4th string to make a G augmented chord. It's written as G aug, G-A-U-G, so it's G space A-U-G, like it's G augmented, and then it'll also be written as G with a little plus sign after it, so it's like G plus, which it looks like kind of Google Plus, which is funny because they just created a business basically called Google Plus, but it's G plus when it's written as G augmented. So we have G augmented. Let's play that together. We're going to play all 6 strings. Open is the 2nd and 3rd string that we have available there to play open, and then we'll play all these other fingers. Let's play that together. We're going to play the strum pattern we learned last week, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4, I believe. Let me just double check. That was 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's right. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. G augmented. 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Last time. 2, 3, and 4. Now you see G augmented, and it sounds kind of weird when you play it. But if you're playing it from G and moving to G augmented and then moving to a different chord, it sounds a lot better. So let's try that. We're going to do play G to G augmented to G. We're going to play G to G augmented to C, and I'm going to play 1 chord per measure. So G for a measure, G augmented for a measure, and then C for a measure. And then we're going to go back to G and end on G. So it's going to sound like this: 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, and 4. G augmented. C. So that sounds more like a progression. We're going somewhere with that G augmented, like I mentioned before. An augmented chord is ascending from a chord, moving into another chord, and that's the way that works really well, is if you're moving it as a transitional chord into another chord. So there's the augmented, G augmented, like here, right there. And then we have an F sharp diminished chord, which is the next chord, and we would write that F sharp dim, D-I-M, and then we have another option to write it as an F with a little sharp sign or a pound sign, and then we have a degree sign right after that. So it would be F sharp degree sign or diminished, F sharp diminished. So we're going to actually play on this diminished chord, 1st finger and 2nd finger on the 1st fret on the 4th and the 2nd string. So we have 1st finger on the 4th string, 1st fret, 2nd finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret. Then we're going to do our 3rd finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and our 4th finger on the 1st string, 2nd fret. So we're kind of doing this little triangle thing. We have a triangle here, and we have a triangle at the bottom. So there's 2 triangles, or we can just call it F sharp diminished rather than trying to come up with different patterns we see. So there's F sharp diminished. It's kind of a small little constricted chord, so you really want to make sure your fingers are up, your thumb is on the back of the guitar, and your wrist is broken a little bit so you can get into that chord as opposed to flat and not getting a full chord sound. So keep your fingers to where they're touching on the ends of the fingers right out here as opposed to the flat part, so we can get on top of that chord as opposed to being all lazy and down. Okay, so keep your fingers around, and there's F sharp diminished. We'll play that together. We're actually going to not play the 5th or the 6th string, so we're playing a bar chord because we're playing the bottom 4 strings with our fingers, so we could actually move this chord anywhere we wanted. But we're going to start with F sharp diminished down here. Okay, and we're going to play the bottom 4 strings, same pattern that we played a minute ago. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's play it together. 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. last time, 2, 3, and 4. Sounds like an odd chord, right? And it's because it is. Again, it's a transitional chord. We had a G augmented chord that was a transitional chord, and we have an F sharp diminished chord that's also a transitional chord. So if I'm playing in the key of G, we know that that was our 7 chord in the key of G, as we learned on the other page, on the last page, which was G major scale. The 7th chord is a 7 diminished chord. So we'll play that in that pattern. I'm just going to pick a few chords. I'm going to play the G and then the E minor after the F sharp diminished. So I'm going to play G, F sharp diminished, E minor, C to D, and you can hear kind of how that's a transitional chord. So if I'm playing G, F sharp diminished, E minor, C, and then D, so you can hear how it kind of transitions. A lot of times you'll hear like a picking artist play and they're how that might sound cool. If you're adding an F sharp diminished, it gives you a real cool little transitional chord when you're playing some picking patterns. And then the last chord we're going to learn is G with a C. We're going to play our 3rd and 4th finger in the 3rd fret, the 3rd finger on the 6th string, the 3rd fret, and the 4th finger on the 1st string in the 3rd fret. And then we're going to add our 1st and 2nd finger, 1st finger on the 2nd string in the 1st fret, 2nd finger on the 4th string in the 2nd fret. And we're gonna not play the B note that we played earlier with our 2nd finger. We're gonna actually just mute that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use our 3rd finger and we're gonna touch the 6th string and make that ring, but we're gonna also bring our finger across the 5th string so it's muted. So we're not gonna hear that chord. We're not gonna hear that note, the 5th note. We're just gonna mute that, and that works pretty well because it's kind of hard to get that 3rd finger over that 5th string to make it ring. And of course we don't want that note anyway because it's not in the G with a C. So G with a C is going to be similar to G. Here's G and G with a C. So with the G chord, now we know a kind of a different version with the G. We don't really have to have that B note, the 2nd finger. We don't have to have that. See, right now you hear that B. Well, we could also play it without that B. Because we have a B on the 2nd string in this chord already. So if we don't play that 5th string B, we still have a B. It's still a G, B, D chord, and so that makes it an official G chord. We just have 2 B's when we add that finger on the second finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret. That makes it having 2 B's, but we still have a B if we take that off, and we just mute that 5th string with our 3rd finger, like that. So there's our G. We can play G to G with a C. Add those notes for G with a C. It makes for a really pretty chord. And again, we can do like that picking pattern. But we can do lots of cool stuff with that pattern. So we really want to learn these chords the way that they're written so that we can add some fun stuff to it later. We'll get to some picking patterns at the end of the advanced book if you want to learn some of the stuff that I was just showing you there. So I just encourage you to keep working through. We're getting some good stuff right now, and we're really going to be able to play some fun parts if we can get through the intermediate book and get to the advanced book to where we have completed our understanding of the guitar and are ready to go into creating our own songs and playing with some friends or learning songs on our own. So that's G with a C